Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Rookie Card Collector 123 video. In today's episode, we're going to continue our look at the Negro and Winter League baseball cards of the prominent ball players who took part in the U.S. Negro Leagues between the turn of the century and the mid-1950s, as well as players that played many winter ball seasons in Latin America in countries of Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Venezuela, and the Dominican Republic. Excuse me. So we've been working alphabetical order, looking at player cards, and we're up to players with the last name beginning with the letter G. So we're going to kick off today at that point. And the very first card we're going to look at, we've got a couple of huge cards today. The first card we're going to look at is probably today the biggest Negro League card in terms of value and desirability in the hobby. And it's actually a card that comes a few years after the player's career was actually over. Unfortunately, this player passed away at a very early age while still an active player. And that's probably going to give away who I'm talking about. But we're going to look at Josh Gibson, all-time great catcher in the Negro Leagues. Began his career with the Homestead Grays in the 1930 era. Would eventually move on after a couple of years with the Grays. He would move to the Pittsburgh Crawfords, where he would be one of the 4 or 5 Inner Circle Hall of Famers that played on that club at the same time, including Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, Judy Johnson, and Oscar Charleston. After his few seasons with the Crawfords, Gibson would then move on to back to the Homestead Grays again, where he would lead the Grays to 9 consecutive Negro National League pennants from 1937 to 1945, along with Buck Leonard, the slugging first baseman. Gibson, of course, was the catcher, considered by many to be the top power hitter overall in Negro League baseball history, and certainly the best catcher in Negro League baseball history. Not so much for his defense, but for his all-around hitting ability combined with the power. Given today's edition of Negro League stats to the MLB record books, Gibson is now the all-time career batting average leader, overtaking Ty Cobb, who always was recognized as the all-time average leader throughout baseball history. But today it's actually Josh Gibson. So Gibson only had one card produced even close to his playing days. He did have a postcard, which if very few people are familiar with that one, but it was produced his first or second season with the Homestead Grays back in 1930, 1931. It was put out by a photography studio called Harrison Studios. They were in the Homestead, Pennsylvania area. And they produced real photo postcards, not just of Gibson, but 3 or 4 other teammates also on the Grays. And those were believed by many to be the only true Negro League card type of items ever produced in the U.S. Everything else comes from Latin America and the various tobacco and caramel and other manufacturing companies in those countries like Cuba, Puerto Rico. So Gibson, only close to playing days card was the 1950 to 51 Toleteros card, which was produced in Puerto Rico. That's the card right here in the top left-hand corner. And you can see it's in color. Toleteros had 3 baseball card issues, one from 1948, one from 1949, and one from 1950. This one being the third one, and also the toughest of the 3 issues to find. They seem to have been printed in smaller quantities than the first 2 years. So Gibson here in a batting pose in front of a batting cage. And I recently did a video covering Negro League memorabilia items. And this exact image of Gibson in front of the batting cage swinging appeared for the first time in a 1939 Puerto Rican Winter League Baseball magazine on the front cover. So that's the original, that's the origin of where this image originally came from. It came from the magazine 12 years earlier than the actual card that was printed in 1950 to 51 Puerto Rican League season. They used that same image again. In today's market, this is a six-figure card, even in the lowest grades. In the higher grades, of course, goes up from there. There's one I know that was graded an 8 many, many years ago. I think it was an SGC 88, which equaled an 8 when converted to a 1 to 10 scale. And you can only imagine what the 8 would sell for in today's market. So 1950-51 Toleteros, Josh Gibson, his only close to being playing days card. Next up, we're going to cover, next up is Jim Gilliam. Gilliam would be a star second baseman for the Brooklyn Dodgers during the right around the 1950 time frame, early 50s, and would come to the Dodgers after Jackie Robinson and a couple of their other pitchers, Don Newcomb and Joe Black. So Gilliam was a star in his own right, but before playing for the Dodgers, he played in the Negro Leagues and also played winter ball in Latin America, like many of the ball players did during that era. And his first card, rookie card, would be considered the 1948 to 49 Toleteros again. This was a black and white issue. The first two issues from 48 and 49 were black and white. The 50 was the only one that Toleteros did in color. So this was also from that Puerto Rican Winter League season from 48-49. Next to that one, we have a 50 to 51 Jim Gilliam again. And this is Toleteros, another Puerto Rican Winter League card. This one, is you can see, is in color, just like the Josh Gibson, not the black and white like the previous card of Gilliam that we just looked at. And the 50-51s, like I mentioned, are the scarcer of all three of the Toleteros issues. Okay, underneath that, there's actually three cards from the 1950 to 51 Dania, which was another Puerto Rican winter ball card manufacturer. They're even rarer than the Toleteros cards. And there's a regular Dania set, and then there's what's called an in-action set. The in-action set would show poses of players in action shots, running the bases, things like that on the ball field, and usually contain multiple players pictured on there, with the key player being noted either at the bottom or on the back of the card. And there were three Jim Gilliam cards in that 50-51 Dania in action. Those are extremely rare, and I did not have pictures of any of the three. So in my book here, I just have it labeled as no image available, which is what I did back in the day when I was putting this together and I was not able to access a photo of a particular card. We're going to then move on to Bob Griffith. He was another prominent Negro League name during the late 40s, early 1950s. And his rookie card is the 48 to 49 Toleteros. I'm pointing to that one right now. Also black and white, only his name at the bottom. There's no border surrounding the rest of the card. The image just goes all the way out to the edges of the card. The 4950, which was another black and white Toleteros set, does have borders surrounding the image all the way around. Next to Griffith, we've got Juan Guerra. He was an earlier Cuban baseball star, also played in the U.S. Negro Leagues. And he's pictured here. Let's see if we can get a better The better contrast on that one. His first card appears in the 1923 to 24 Beacon set. That was a Cuban Winter League series. Beacon was a tobacco company, and they took real photographs and produced baseball cards of players for the four major Cuban winter ball clubs during that time frame, including Havana, which is the team where Guerra was playing. Next to that one, we've got a 1923 to 24 Nacionales. Again, same winter league season, also a Cuban card. See if we could get that one. That's a little better. This one is a portrait close-up shot of Guerra, and the borders on these are a dark brown or blackish color. The backs of these Cuban cards were all had writing in Spanish with bio information and advertising information for the companies that produced them. Okay, next up is another Juan Guerra. Same 1923-24 winter ball season in Cuba. He's also pictured with his Havana team again. See if we can get a better focus. That's a little better. All three of these, the Nacionales, the Beacon, and the Tomas Gutierrez that I'm showing here, all extremely rare sets. Populations on these are usually in the 5 to 10 range, probably more like 5, and some of them even less. The bigger name players tend to be a little higher populations. The more obscure players tend to be the lower population numbers. Next to Guerra there, we have Sam Hairston. His rookie card would be in the 48-49 Toleteros set again, the black and white set. Hairston was a star in the U.S. Negro Leagues and also played many winter ball seasons in Puerto Rico. And next to that Hairston, we have another Sam Hairston, 49-50 Toleteros. So that would be the following year. Let's see if we can get that to come a little better. And that one is 49-50. That one's got the borders all the way around the card. Okay, next up is a player who was up for voting for the Hall of Fame this past year. He did not get selected, but he was an outstanding Negro League player during his playing days and also a great manager. I believe he was up for election more for his managerial role than he was as a player, or at least both of those combined. Trying to see if we can get a focus a little better. So his rookie, this is Vic Harris, and his rookie is the 1949-50 Toleteros again, the Puerto Rican Winter League issue. Next to that one, we've got the following year, Vic Harris, also Puerto Rican Winter League from Toleteros, 1949-50. And next to that, we have Mike Herrera. Herrera is part of the 23-24 Beacon set, same one we looked at a little bit earlier for Juan Guerra. Mike Herrera was playing for Almendares, which was one of the 4 Cuban professional Winter League teams during that 23-24 winter season. Another Mike Herrera here in the bottom is the Nacionales set that we looked at with Guerra also. This one is another 23-24 Cuban Winter League. Another very rare card. And the third one is the 1923-24 Tomas Gutierrez, Mike Herrera. Again, another rare Winter League card from Cuba. These two are both the same image, just cropped a little bit differently. Actually, this one might even be the same image as well, just taken from a further back distance. Okay, next to Herrera in the corner here, we've got Heliodoro Hidalgo. And this is a super rare set. This is actually the first Cuban baseball card set ever made. This is the 1909 Cabañas set. And these pictured cards from the Cuban team, the Cuban League players that played a series against the U.S. teams, including the Detroit Tigers, and had players. There were some American players pictured in the series and some Cuban players. Hidalgo is one of the Cuban stars that had a card produced there. Population on most of these are usually one or two, maybe three at the most. So nearly impossible to find and very expensive in today's market. Okay, next one we have is another Heliodoro Hidalgo in the upper left-hand corner here. This one is the following season, so this is 1910, the second Cuban baseball set ever produced. This is the 1910 Punch series and features Hidalgo again on a chest and head portrait shot. These are also extremely rare. Populations on the punch cards also usually one or two, maybe three or so. Next to that, we have, after Josh Gibson, maybe the second highest value Negro League card that exists. This one is Pete Hill. Pete Hill is in the 1909 Cabañas set, the same one that we just looked at with Hidalgo. Hill's in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. He is one of the guys that got selected in 2006 when the whole big group of Negro Leaguers all made the Hall of Fame the same year. They had a special election process that year. And Hill was an all-time great in the U.S. Negro baseball in the early 1900s with Rube Foster's Chicago American Giants, and then would play for Detroit and a couple of other teams after that during the teens and into the early 1920s as well. And of course, a rookie card for Hill. There's only two, I believe, two Pete Hill cards known to exist. And this would be for sure a six-figure card if it were to come up for auction in today's market. Okay, next to that Pete Hill, we've actually got another Pete Hill. This is a 1910 Punch Cigars, another super rare set. See if we can get a better picture. The exposure on this one's a little bit light. It's not coming in too good. But the 1910 Punch Pete Hill, again, I believe there's only a couple, two or three maybe, of this card known to exist. And the punch cards were actually photographic cards that were mounted on a cardboard backing, and they were meant to be glued into a baseball card album. So unfortunately, about 95% or more of the punch cards are missing the cardboard backing, because when they try to remove it from the album, the backing would get stuck and only the card image part of it would come off or peel off of it. So there's only 3 or 4 cards known to exist in complete form with the card, the image, as well as the cardboard backing. And obviously those are very expensive. We're going to cover one more player today. So we've got 1923-24. We've got the Beacon Bill Holland. Holland was a great Negro League pitcher during the 1920s and into the early 1930s. This is the Cuban Winter League team again. And from the same Winter League season, the Tomas Gutierrez, Bill Holland as well. Both very rare, low populations, probably around 5 or so on each. That's going to wrap up today's episode on the Negro League baseball cards. We're going to continue next time with players' last names beginning with the letter H and continue forward from there. So today we got to look at two of the biggest in terms of demand and value two of the biggest cards in Negro League existence, Negro League baseball card existence, the Josh Gibson Toleteros rookie and the Pete Hill, the two Pete Hill cards, really. Both of them would probably be six-figure cards in today's market if they came up for auction. The 1909 Cabañas and the 1910 Punch cigars. So hope you got some good information from today's episode and got to see some cards you might have never come across before. Hope you have a great day and catch you guys again on the next one.